Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I'm John Clark along with Mike Quick and Ike Reese. Eagles are finally back home. It's been a month now and they can lock up that #1 seed and get to a franchise record, 14 wins in the regular season. But let's look back at that Cowboys loss. Give me one thing you like and one thing you didn't like.
Well, when I start on the defensive side of the ball, I got to start with the guys up front. We're talking about 4 straight games where these guys have been able to come up with 6 sacks in the game. That's always something you can hang your hat on. Josh Sweat with the pick 6 early in the game. You certainly want to be able to build off of that. But third downs, getting off the field on third downs is something we need to improve on. Dallas was 8 of 15, 1 for 1 on 4th down, and more importantly, some of their biggest plays came on 3rd down. So that's something we definitely need to improve on.
Well, and the Eagles had 6 sacks that Ike mentioned, but they didn't give up any sacks. So the game plan on 3rd down was really solid. Gardner Minshew getting the ball out of his hands quickly, making sure that you didn't take the losses on the sack. But on the other side, they gave up the ball too many times. You can't win in this league when you're turning the ball over 4 times in any game, and that was the downfall of that football game, turning the football over.
And here's something else to build on. Dallas Goedert was back. He led the Eagles in Dallas with 22 yards a catch, 3 targets, 3 catches. So let's catch up with his tight ends coach, Jason Michael. Here is tape study with Fran Duffy, presented by Chickies and Pete's.
Well, joining us here for tape study presented by Chickies and Pete's, Eagles tight ends coach Jason Michael. Coach, I want to talk about Dallas Goedert making his return to the Eagles offense this past week against the Cowboys. What was it like having number 88 back in the lineup?
I think it's anytime you get a great player like Dallas, just to add back into to what we're trying to do as a team, what we're trying to do offensively. It's obviously a great, for us as an offense. The thing about Dallas, he's just the leadership that he brings. He's been able to do that, throughout even, in the 5-week stretch that he's not been in. But just to be able to get him back out. I know he was antsy to get back out, and it's great to to see him come out and be able to produce and help us offensively and help this team.
Well, it came out with a bang. 3 catches, all 3 going for first downs. This first one, a 25-yarder. Take us through this route concept and how he was able to break open on this play.
Yeah, I just this play here is one that we have that. We're trying to do a lot of things. You can see here we have 3 tight ends on the field. And a lot of things that we're doing here is trying to marry the run and the pass. Okay, so within this game we had some runs and we had obviously this pass out of it. And a lot of things that we'll do in this offense is whether we're running crossing routes to where we're trying to make this defender cover both. And he doesn't know, are we running across the field? And the start of this route, it looks that way to where he goes. And you can see at the top of this route, as he goes on, you can see 27 here try to go undercut him. And that's what we're trying to get out of this. We run a number of these routes where we're going to continue across the field. And then here, as he gets to this point, he puts his foot in the ground and turns it into more of a sail route. And we're trying to invite 27 here, to undercut this route and get what we got. And it's all obviously off of a play action pass here where we're selling the run that we have in the game.
Yeah, and both guys on the backside helping out in pass protection as well, Coach. You've got Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll staying in, protect, make sure Gardner Minshew has plenty of time here.
For sure, and that's, all of what we're doing here. This is what we call a max protection, where from the end zone here you can see, these guys have, responsibilities outside, but the formation, motion, and all that stuff marries to the run game to where we can max this protection up and take a little bit of a deeper drop and more of a downfield throw to protect Gardner.
Yeah, and that was a 13 personnel pass, 3 tight ends on the field. This one, a few weeks back against Washington, a similar kind of look. All 3 tight ends on the field, and this one ends up being a pass as well.
Yeah, and as you can see here, this is, again, play action off of a run action play, and you can see we're gonna run a corner route here with Grant, okay, and we're sneaking Dallas back through on a slip route here, and then we've got Jack Stoll on the over route. So really you can see we're trying to flood this zone off of a play action fake. A lot of what we'll do out of this formation in the run game, and as Jalen comes out of here, he's got a chance, really to throw this to Dallas, but how does the defense adjust? Okay, all 3 guys here are options in what it does in terms of what coverage they play, how they play it. As you can see, Grant is more of a clear out route here in terms of taking the coverage off of it, and then this defender underneath grabs Dallas and goes through, and then here it just opens up an option for Jack Stoll to be able to come across on the over route.
And that's the thing, is that you come out in those 3 tight end sets, and most people would think, okay, run game, maybe something underneath, but you have that ability to attack all 3 levels of the field. That just speaks to the uniqueness of the versatility in that room.
Sure does, sure does. And I think, with these guys, and we talk about Dallas coming back, and it's great to have him back, but I think it says a lot about Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, Tyree Jackson, in terms of what they were able to do. And it speaks a lot about, the depth and continued development of these guys as we go.
And you talk about both guys being able to contribute as blockers as well, Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra. We see him here on this long run for a touchdown from Miles Sanders a couple weeks back.
Yeah, this is a counter play that we run, and based on the front that they were in, this is later in the game. We have run this play a couple times to this point, and all plays come up different, but we get a chance to gap this play out. You can see right here, Jack Stoll and Jack Driscoll are in a double team here to this inside linebacker. Okay, we had run this. They started to play and flow over the top in what they were doing, but we get a chance to block down and gap. When I say gap out, I mean we get a chance from the offensive line standpoint to be able to gap the front out. And we're in a double team here to this inside linebacker with 2 pullers. We've got Landon on a pull, and then we've got Grant coming from the backside. So as you can see here, again, this is a second or third time that we had run this. And you can see the inside linebacker run over the top, and Jack Stoll does a great job here of redirecting and taking the defender where he wants to go. He's going to block him, and sometimes you might pin him inside, but if he's going to flow over the top, Jack does a good job of sticking on, and carrying this guy out with his momentum. And then here you can see we get it gapped out. It's a great job by the offensive line, of cutting the defense here. And then Landon does a great job with the first pull of kicking out. And then Grant, it's not always clean, it's not always pretty, but does a great job of fitting his way through to his responsibility. And as you can see here, it gets just enough of the safety coming down to where he springs Miles for a big run here late in the game that sealed this thing late.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.
Coming down us. Let's go. Let's do it. Good throw, boy. Good. K. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go.
All right, the Eagles for the first time ever have 2 receivers over 1,000 yards each in the same season. You didn't do that?
I did.
You did, but somebody else.
The other guy did.
The other guy did. Well, now they got A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith.
Yeah.
What makes DeVonta Smith so special? These catches he made in Dallas.
I just think he makes some of the craziest catches we've ever seen. I remember talking about that earlier in the season. He made a catch, and I said, there's not many people in the world that could make that catch. Well, there were 2 in this game that I thought were very similar. The one I really liked most was down the sideline, where he was able to tap both feet in and somehow stretch longer than his body stretches to pull a ball in on the sideline. But the one we're going to show you is one that's an end breaker right in the middle of this zone defense. And if you watch how he elevates, he jumps and then he takes it to another level, elevating to get to the football. There's a safety waiting behind him. He's sure that the ball is overthrown, that he's going to get the football. But when you watch DeVonta elevate, stretch longer than his body really looks like it is to pluck this ball out, you know that he's a special guy that really, at the catch point, he's one of the best that I've ever seen at the catch point.
And DeVonta's toughness, so he knows he's going to get hit sometimes. At his size, he takes a lot of shots and holds on to the ball. But the Saints defense, pretty good against the pass. Second in the NFL, giving up just 190 passing yards a game. And what are they going to do to the Eagles on third down? That is our enemy intel here with Greg Cosell, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
Now, the Saints do not have a great record at all this season, but I can tell you, I know this from film study and I know this from talking to people in the league, that Dennis Allen, the head coach of the Saints, used to be their D coordinator for years, is one of the most respected defensive minds in the game. And when you play the Saints defense, it is always a tough challenge. They're a little different in the things they show you, and particularly when you get to long yardage and third down. What the Saints do, because they like to get a lot more speed on the field, is they will play 6 defensive backs, what we call dime, but they will play with 2 linebackers still. So they play a 3-2-6. And Demario Davis is one of the keys to this, because he can do a lot of things as a linebacker, very multidimensional. Now, they like to play man coverage concepts on third down, and they're very blurry in the secondary. A lot of times it can look like 2-man coverage with 2 deep safeties, or it could become what we call cover 1 robber, where one of the safeties kind of drifts and rotates into the middle. But it's man coverage, and you see how well they play it here. This is played about as well as you can do it. But there's also a pass rush element to this, because this will end up being a sack. And as I said, Demario Davis, he may be the absolute key to their front, because he is a very good blitzer. Now, this will be a stunt, a long stunt. Davis will stun around 2 other players and come from the outside, and he will get the sack. So third down will be a very important down for the Eagles offense, because they will play a Saints defense that gives you a lot of man coverage, but a lot of muddied looks, and a linebacker in Davis who can do a lot of things, including spy the quarterback if necessary. So this defense will be a challenge for the Eagles offense.
Prescott under center. Pollard stays in. 1st and 10. Up at the 46. And the pass is intercepted. He let it go and it's intercepted. It's picked off by Josh Sweat. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Josh Sweat.
What a play by Josh Sweat. Dak Prescott wants to drop the ball over his head, just over Sweat's head, to the tight end, and Sweat takes it away and takes it in for a touchdown, a pick 6 by the big man coming off the edge.
All right, Josh Sweat, the first D lineman in the NFL to record a pick 6 this year. He's got 7.5 sacks over his last 5 games. Nobody has more in the NFL over that span. Sweat is on a roll here.
Yeah, I still don't understand how he doesn't have Pro Bowler attached to his name after this season, but he's had an awesome year, especially the second half of the season. Can make the argument he's been the most dominant defensive end in the game. You're going to watch him here going up against Tyler Smith, the left tackle. So what he's going to do here is reduce the surface area that Tyler Smith has a chance to get his hands on him. That's what a big defensive end has to do, and then he needs to dip that left shoulder to get under the hands of Tyler Smith. And then the thing I like about Josh Sweat that's sort of underrated is his strength once he's been in the corner. These tackles are taught to continue to block and push you past the quarterback. You watch Josh Sweat here. Once he gets to the top side of Tyler Smith, he's able to flatten and get to Dak Prescott to get a sack here. Great play by Josh Sweat. If Josh Sweat doesn't make the play, you see Fletcher Cox right there to get the sack. I just think Josh Sweat is playing at a different level right now. He's added so much to his repertoire of pass rushing, but his ability at his size to reduce that surface level and still play with strength and speed, man, we haven't seen that around here in a while.
And the Saints offense, they may not average a lot of points, but they have an X factor. Let's get that from Greg Cosell and Enemy Intel, presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers.
Now, the Saints do not have a great record, but they are still in the playoff hunt. And we're going to do a little fine focus this week on one player in particular with the Saints, and that's Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom Hill, he's a quarterback, he's a tight end, he lines up in different places all over the formation, but he is a player that the Eagles defense under Jonathan Gannon must prepare for. And there's a couple of places where he's really difficult, and one is the red zone. He is the quarterback normally in the red zone. You can call him a wildcat quarterback, you can call him whatever you want, but they line him up in the shotgun in the red zone. And oftentimes a favorite play, a staple play, is the counter read, and they'll do it out of multiple personnel. So they'll pull a guard, that's the counter element. But at times there'll be a fullback who will be a lead blocker. That's what you're seeing on this play. And the one thing about Taysom Hill, he's 230 pounds. So even if you get bodies on him, as happens on this play, he can drive through and score. So he is a weapon in the red zone. There have been games where he's scored 2 or 3 touchdowns running inside the 10-yard line. But the other thing about Hill, and he does not throw a lot of passes, but he does throw the ball at times. And one thing about the Saints this year, and this has been true over the last number of weeks, I believe 3 weeks, they are lining up with 6 offensive linemen on 1 out of every 3 snaps. So here you see Hill in the shotgun as a quarterback. Andy Dalton is still on the field. He's split way outside the numbers at the bottom of the screen. But 6 offensive linemen. As I said, this has become their MO. This has become a staple personnel package. And the one thing now with the Saints, they do have a speedy, vertical wide receiving threat in Rashid Shaheed. And he's caught a couple of touchdowns this year where he's gotten on top of the defense. And this one is a great example. They kind of lull you to sleep. As I said, Hill does not throw a lot of balls, but he has a big arm. And here you see Shaheed on a deep post. He gets over the top of the defense. Hill lays it out there, and it's a big, explosive touchdown for the Saints. Now, they do not put up a lot of points on a weekly basis, but Hill, he is the wild card in their offense. He's different than any other player that the Eagles have faced this year. So he's a player that Jonathan Gannon and the defense must prepare for it. You do not want Hill to be the weapon that breaks down your defense.
All right, Taysom Hill had 9 carries last week. The Saints ran it for almost 40 times, and the week before 34 times. So they're running the ball a lot. Andy Dalton's not even passing for 100 yards in some of these games. So how much of a challenge is the gimmick of Taysom Hill?
Well, I mean, some people like to refer to it as a gimmick. I look at him like he's just a football player on the offensive side of the football. And it becomes difficult for a defense because we're so used to putting personnel packages in the forms of tendencies. It helps us understand what to expect to come. But with Taysom Hill, it's so difficult because they use him in so many different personnel groupings and they line him up all over the formation. So they're trying to create confusion and miscommunications. We had a few of those communication problems last week in the back end of our secondary. You have to be on high alert when number 7 is in the football game. But the preparation starts throughout the week so that when the game gets here, it's instinctual to you. When the game gets here, you can't try to figure out where we're going with Taysom Hill. You have to almost know what the New Orleans Saints are trying to do when Taysom Hill is out there. He has the ability to throw the ball and catch it as well.
Welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. The Eagles in their last 2 home games have put up a total of 75 points. And the Saints come in here averaging less than 15 a game over their last 7, fewest in the NFL over that span. What's your biggest takeaway going into this game?
Well, I just think that the Eagles have to really run the football well against this defense. It's a good run defense, led by Demario Davis, their Pro Bowl linebacker, Pete Warner, 2 really good linebackers. But I think the Eagles, with this offensive line, they can handle anyone in the trenches, and that's the way they have to go about this game. The play-action passing game is going to work off of that, but I think you really have to lean on your run game, and you start the game with running the football against this defense.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the Eagles defense going up against this Saints offense, John, you just mentioned the lack of scoring from this Saints offense. And it's because I believe they can't stretch the field as much. They want to run the football, play a little bit more ball control, really rely on that defense to maybe win the game in the end. But the one offensive threat they do have that the Eagles need to be aware of is the tight end, Juwan Johnson. We're talking about a former wide receiver at Penn State. This kid has come on this year, 7 touchdowns. He seems to make a big play just about every game, and when they get down in the red zone, they are looking for him to catch the ball. He has soft hands, a little faster than it appears when you watch him on film. So Juwan Johnson is somebody that this Eagles defense needs to be on the lookout for.
There's a lot on the line. Home field advantage throughout the playoffs for the Eagles. Enjoy Eagles Saints. It could be a hat and shirt game, I think, as you guys like to call it. He is Ike Reese. He's Mike Quick. I'm John Clark. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. Pepsi, Eagles watching, better with Pepsi. PA Lottery, there's a lot of love for the PA Lottery, and when you see how fun it is, you'll understand why.